the NBA is not requiring players to get vaccinated. All right. But the Players Association estimates that between 85-90% of their players are vaccinated. Okay. But that's still a decent number, 10%. That's a decent number. It's about 50 guys who aren't vaccinated. And the NBA is taking the stance of whatever the state or city, their rules.
They have no choice.
That's what we're following, right? And so in New York and in San Francisco, you have to get vaccinated, all right, to work, in a common environment with other people. And so that being the case, any players on the Nets, the Knicks, and the Warriors who aren't vaccinated would miss all 41 home games, and right now they're saying even practices.
You couldn't play, right? You couldn't do anything, right?
Right.
Not in that state, right?
Absolutely. And so now there are medical and religious exemptions, and I believe they're trying to get, I think they might be seeking a religious exemption for Andrew Wiggins. There's talk about that. I'm not sure, but they, obviously I think these guys that are really adamant about not getting vaccinated are going to try to seek some type of exemption. But Stephen A., our good buddy, said today if Andrew Wiggins doesn't get vaccinated, Rob G., correct me if I'm wrong because I didn't see it. You told me that he would trade Andrew Wiggins. Is that correct? Okay. Well, Rob, Kyrie is believed to be unvaccinated as well. And this is tough. If I'm the Nets, I want to run it back. We weren't healthy last year, so you didn't really get to see the big three together. When they were together, it was Magic 11-3, I believe, including the playoffs. But if I were the Nets, and let's say Kyrie insisted on not getting vaccinated, because he might get vaccinated, and so might Wiggins. We don't know.
Yeah, when push comes to shove, Chris, they just have to I'm going to lose money. This is not, I'm going to be in a no man's zone. And it ain't like
my team.
90% of the league is unvaccinated. Then you're in the minority.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like there's a big difference between the two.
Well, no doubt. And here's what I would say to those who aren't vaccinated. You get vaccinated you got vaccinated when you went to school. Public school, private school, daycare, whatever. Your kids get vaccinated. You have to. It's required by states, right? Chicken pox, hepatitis B,
you can't
all
go to
these
school,
different things
Chris,
you
with
get
the other
vaccinated
kids, right? You can't.
The same government that's giving you those vaccinations that, let's just keep it real. Cats ain't doctors. Cats ain't doing the research, reading up on those vaccinations. You're just taking it. So I'm just saying, think about that as you insist on doing all your research on this. But anyway, Rob, if Kyrie doesn't take the vaccination and then were to miss all these games, this is what I'd do if I'm the Nets, Rob. I would quietly go to Kevin Durant and be like, look, we want all three of y'all back. We want to sign you to long-term extensions, or at least Harden and Kyrie. You already are signed, KD.
Right.
But Kyrie's not taking the vaccination. He's going to miss half the season.
Right, we can't do it.
Not to mention practices. So first I'll be like, KD, can you convince him?
How about if you get to the NBA Finals and the games are in Brooklyn?
Right.
What?
Which half of them will be, right? 3 or 4 of them will be. And I would say if you can't convince him, that's our first option. You can convince him, and then everything's good. If you can't convince him, are you cool with us moving? I don't want to trade Kyrie if I'm the Nets. I've said on the air, I look at Damian Lillard, I look at Bradley Beal, I look at Ben Simmons, but I think ultimately I'd rule I'm keeping Kyrie. But in this case, I would, if I had to move him because he wouldn't take the vaccination, Rob, and I think a good deal would be Ben Simmons. Because one of the, I don't say problems, but one of the questions about the Nets is defense. And Ben Simmons is one of the best defenders in the league. And he would play great with the Nets because you don't need him to score more. I mean, he's going to give you 15 points, but you don't need him to, shoot. He could play near the basket.
Big shots.
Right,
no,
right.
No
he can play near the basket, right? And push it in transition. But Harden's your point guard. So that's how I would approach it. And I wouldn't want to do that. But, I mean, do you leave him any choice, Rob? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about the future. You're trying to win a championship. You can't play with one hand tied behind your back, Chris. They did that last year.
Right.
If Kevin Durant wore size 14, they would have gone to the conference finals, right?
Right.
I mean, like, let's just be honest.
I think it's
and they
safe
were
to
two
say they would
players
have
down.
beaten Atlanta.
Yeah, and they were 2 players down.
Right.
Think about that.
1.5 at least, right?
Right. I mean, Harden was out there, but he was a shell of himself. And remember, he got hurt in game 1 against Milwaukee, 10 seconds, 15 seconds into the game.
Yep.
So you don't want to do that again. You're like, let's put this all together, give us a real shot, and the Nets would have a chance to bring a championship to Brooklyn. But everybody's got to be on the same page. And you just said it. People have their own personal. If you're a hermit or you're living, by yourself, Chris, on some remote island, and you want to do your own thing, I'm not going to knock you. But when you're, dealing with other people, and we've seen so much life lost and so many people sick and affected, you could say whatever you want about the vaccination. The facts are that people are dying from it, right, or dying from the related, you might have some underlying health issues, right, Chris, and this pushes you to where it could cost you your life.
I was just talking to a friend of mine, Rob, real talk. I was just yesterday. He's 37, and he had COVID this month. Mm-hmm. And he said it had him down for a month.
Wow.
He said it was rough. And he's 37 years old. He's not, elderly by any stretch of the imagination. And he didn't ever have to go on ventilators, but he was in the hospital for a week. And it was tough. So we'll see. But I think this is interesting. And I think, Rob, my bet, now it's hard to predict with Kyrie. He's his own man. He's going to do what he wants. But my bet would be that Wiggins and Kyrie take the vaccination.
I agree. I think that they'll look at the situation, see what's going on, and be like, it's funny you say this, Chris, because as you know, I mentor a lot of people, and I've gotten a few phone calls from some of the guys that I mentor, and they're facing the very same thing.
But they don't want to take the vax?
No, they're unclear, unsure about it, but their jobs have told them if they don't, they can't work. And so they're like, trying to figure out and maneuver what can I do? And I'm just like, when you're working around other people, it's not only your choice. You got to understand that.
I think you also, Rob, have to look at all the people that have taken it. Now, I guess people will say, well, we don't know what's going to happen to you a year from now, 10 years from now.
We don't know.
Right? But we've taken it, and we're fine.
Just like they blamed Hank Aaron's death. He's 91, Chris. They blamed it because he took the shot.
All right, 877-99 on Fox, 877-996-6369. If Kyrie refuses to get the vaccine, should the Nets trade him?
All right, let's kick it off. Let's kick it off with Tom in Los Angeles. You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Tom?
Hey, guys. I personally think that Kyrie Irving should demand a trade if it's going to come down to that. There's a reason why a lot of big-time athletes, even the vaccination status for LeBron James is very unknown. There's a lot of hesitancy out there because we don't know what could happen. I mean, this vaccine was created in a year and a half. I think it was one of the fastest vaccinations ever created.
It's been approved by the FDA. It's been approved by the FDA now.
Right. Okay. But
it was
a lot of
fast.
things are
There's no doubt about it.
It was fast.
There's no denying that.
Right. So all I'm saying is if it comes down to that, Kyrie, you can go to the Heat, demand a trade to Dallas, demand a trade to Miami. I mean, it's getting really wrong. I mean, we're talking about a 99.7 survival rate of the virus. I just think it's not fair. It shouldn't come down to that. And people are going to bully him and basically say he's not a team player if he doesn't want to get vaccinated, which I think is completely wrong. And I'm 25 years old, so that's just my opinion.
Well, yeah, it's the state law is what they're fighting. And then Rob Pelinka, the GM of the Lakers, said today that they're going to be 100% vaccinated when the season starts.
Period. So there's no gray area with LeBron because at some point they have to know. Otherwise, LeBron
maybe last year, maybe
when LeBron can't play and go at the Warriors or with the Knicks or against the Nets, then you'll know, Chris. So I don't think that's going to be the case, and people will just have to. There's sometimes in life you got to do stuff that you just have to for the greater good, right?
Yeah,
the greater good.
Yeah, and look, I mean, I don't trust the government in a lot of things, but you just don't. We all aren't doctors. Let's just keep it real. All this talk about
Stop acting like
Nicki Minaj was like, I'm gonna do a bunch of research. I mean,
what
really?
research, Nicki? Please stop it. And then when they asked about her cousin with the swollen testicles and all that and the marriage that was called off, they couldn't produce him, Chris. They couldn't find him. Where is he?
And just like you said earlier, right? You know people that you respect and love that are not vaccinated. I think a family member, close family member who's not vaccinated, and he's got, his reasons and his stuff to back it up. But we don't live in a vacuum.
Right.
It's just as simple as that. And
if you're living by yourself in a mountain, Chris, or a big farm in the middle of Montana and there's no neighbors next to you and you don't have to go into the store to get food, if they start, I'm going to tell you, because what'll happen, Chris? All they got to do, you really want to do it, is you can't go to the grocery store to get food. Or you can't do this, or you can't buy gas, or you can't. I mean, you could just go on and on and on, and eventually everybody will be vaccinated because that's the only way we're going to get rid of this thing, or at least curb it. I don't know. I mean, it's a delicate situation, but sometimes you got to bite the bullet. All right, Dre in Michigan, you're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Dre?
What it do, people?
How you? What up, young blood?
Oh, man, I'm doing better now. We ain't got nobody calling in comparing y'all to Jason Whitlock. That was nice.
Didn't even let the man finish.
Let me tell you.
Hey, look, though. I know Rod known for pulling the Deshaun Watson on us, but he was justified hanging up on that dude.
Dude, we're not going that route. You could do, if you got to disagree with me.
I don't know what he was going to say.
Yeah, you could disagree with me, Chris. You could whatever.
Complimentary to you, Rob.
Nah,
hey, you know why I say you pull a Deshaun Watson sometime, don't you, Rod?
What?
Because sometimes for getting rubbed the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? So,
he the Masoud. He the Masoud of sports talk radio. He don't like to hear that. But
if you gonna rub me the wrong way, there's gonna be a problem, right?
What you, Johnny Gill? Rub me the right way. All right, man. What you got?
Hey, look. If Kyrie's not gonna play, they signed that man to a contract to play basketball. If you're not gonna play basketball, or you're not available to play basketball, then you got to go. That's the problem with a lot of these young cats. They want to take a stand without sacrifice. You can't do that.
Right.
You got to be willing to give up something. So if you're not gonna want to play, you got to say, hey, this it means this much to me. I'd rather sit out and not make millions than
the NBA doesn't matter to me. Right.
That's it.
There you go.
If you were,
and you know what, Chris?
Kyrie
Dre just
keeping
said
it real
without sacrifice. People want stuff without sacrifice.
Now, keeping it real, Kyrie, Andrew Wiggins, they've made enough money where if they wanted to, they could just be like, I'm done because I'm not doing it. If you really want to take that stance. But he's right, Rob. Like, it's the same thing with Deshaun and Ben Simmons. They want to, sit out and all this, but get paid.
Right.
If you sit out, you're right to sit out, but we're not paying you.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
Where's the sacrifice? Give up the money on principle if you're willing to do that. If the principle means something, Chris, And people have done it forever.
Yep.
Giving up jobs,
Ali,
protests
he
in
made
the street,
sacrifice.
right? Laid down, being bitten by dogs and water hosed, right? They went to that Woolworths counter, Chris, every day not to be served and to be treated like dogs. Remember?
Yep.
That was the sacrifice.
Yep.